In the early hours, at 4 o'clock in the morning, a blizzard swept across Bridgard Teton National Forest like a thick white curtain. The corrugated metal roof of the abandoned ranger's tent trembled violently, while the wind howled through the gaps between the boards, drowning out the urgent calls of alarm whistles. Ethan Cole, retired hunter, keeper of silent scars, was jolted awake by an unfamiliar sound. It was neither a snapping branch nor cracking ice. It was a deliberate, steady knocking. Knock, knock, knock. He flung open the door. A blast of frigid air bore into his chest. Snow slashing sideways. On the snow-laden wooden porch stood a North American lynx, motionless on an old wooden army chest. Its claws struck the wood in precise 3 beats, then paused 3 beats, then pause, as if someone were knocking, as if someone were calling up memories. Ethan shone his flashlight. Its eyes glowed pale blue, not terrified, not aggressive but alert. Unyielding, he stepped forward. The lid of the chest popped open with a deep, resonant groan, and objects spilled out like water bursting through a dam. A wooden whistle carved in the shape of a pine tree landed in the snow. The clumsy gift Ethan had once carved for his father, Jack Cole, before the storm of 2005. The same day his father vanished, the whistle had been gone from his life ever since until tonight. Amid the storm, beneath the paw of a lynx, Ethan's throat pinched. The air was bone-chillingly cold, but the tremor in him came from memory. He looked up. The lynx remained, ears alert, as if waiting for an answer. A shiver ran down his spine, not because he faced a wild animal, but because the lid of the past had sprung open. Ethan took a half-step back, pulled off his gloves to steady himself, telling himself it was probably just a stray. He spoke quietly, soothingly, like he might calm a child. "I'm not going to hurt you." The lynx tilted its head slightly, the fur on its neck flickering. When it lowered its head, Ethan saw beneath the thick coat a faded leather strap around its neck, holding a cracked leather tag engraved faintly with 3 letters, JC. Jack Cole. His world tilted. Ethan reached into the chest. A hand-drawn map marked with trails and circled paths led to a point labeled Clearwater Creek. A unique mark, Jack's own, lay there like a code. Next was a cassette tape labeled, faintly, Clearwater Creek, 0105, and a Polaroid photo showing an iron trap set at the edge of a rock. Scrawled in messy handwriting, "Arrive before the sun rises." His heartbeat shifted, from curiosity to bewilderment, then to a feeling of being pulled into a larger story. These items, never part of any official file, lay hidden in this forgotten chest and guarded by a lynx wearing Jack's mark. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment to push back the flood of memory. When he opened them again, the animal was still there, statuesque, as if waiting for him to choose. He gathered his gear, pulled up his collar, and realized he had walked into a time tunnel with no turning back. The lynx turned back at the first shift of the wind. It stood at the edge of the porch light, tapped 3 times, then walked a few paces before glancing back. Ethan strapped on his headlamp and slung on his pack, following. The second time he hesitated, it turned again the same way, as if confirming, the path is ahead. Though distant, its paw prints lay deep in the snow, cushioned by frost. Beside them was the imprint of a very old boot, broad, weighted on the heel, like someone walking heavily. 2 sets of tracks overlapped, heading in the same direction, toward Clearwater Creek. The name on the cassette. The wind wound through old pines like the breath of someone right behind him. At the base of a spruce tree, he found a rusty paperclip stuck with a thread of orange fabric, the kind rangers used to mark boundaries. Nearby, the snow was mounded as though someone had buried and hastily refilled something. From the empty woods came the faint sound of jangling metal in the high, tense shriek of cable. An auditory chill sent down his spine. He stopped under the tree and inserted the cassette into an old player he'd found in the chest. The wind hissed into the tape. Then a hoarse, breathless voice came on. "If anyone finds this, do not let them detonate it. They will herd the animals to the cliff's edge." Then the ticking of a timing device, each cold click echoing. Ethan swallowed hard. It was Jack's voice. He turned the Polaroid over. On the rock was a smeared red paint symbol, an inverted triangle with a slash. marking the sign of the poaching ringjack once investigated separately years ago. It seems someone had reused that mark. As bait, the lynx led him along the frozen stream to a stretch of forest abandoned due to avalanche risk. At the entrance of a rock overhang, Ethan brushed snow away and uncovered a detonator wire connected to an old stick of dynamite lodged deep in the cliff face. If triggered, the whole slope would collapse, driving wildlife into a deadly trap. Two past personas converged in his mind: the old hunter who read the wind like a second language, and the man who swore never again to pull the trigger the day his wife died from a stray bullet during a hunt. His finger went numb inside the glove. His satellite phone buzzed. One weak signal through the blizzard. Maya Turner, 12:12 a.m. Trapped near Clearwater, old sawmill. Possible explosives. Need help before sunrise. Maya, the forest ranger in charge. The one who had once tried to close Jack's file. Who knew the forest like the back of her hand. Ethan looked up. The lynx gave a soft, low growl, urgent yet subtle, then turned sharply toward the old sawmill. Ethan cinched his pack straps. The path was set. The old sawmill appeared like a ghost in the whiteout. Its roof had partially collapsed, the doors jammed tight by snow. Ethan threw his shoulder against it, breaking through sheets of ice. Inside, it was as cold as a freezer, the air heavy with damp sawdust and rust. A trail of thin blood stretched across the wooden floor, leading down into the cellar. There, among crates and wood shavings, the three-beat rhythm echoed again, knock, 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 as if someone were signaling from underground. Ethan followed the sound, discovering the cellar door half buried in sawdust. He turned on his flashlight and slid down a rusty iron ladder. The light swept across Maya Turner, hands bound behind her back, blood on her lips, but her eyes sharp and focused. Right beside her was a homemade detonator, a PVC pipe rigged with copper wire and a ticking analog timer. The wire ran through a hole in the wall, heading toward the cliffside at Clearwater. Maya whispered, "Someone used Jack's mark to reverse the trap on us. They're coming back tonight. Timer is set for sunrise to drive the deer herd." I got jumped while removing the boundary flags. Ethan rushed up to the foreman's office. Under a thick layer of dust was a water-stained leather notebook with Jack Cole's name engraved on the cover. The pages were filled with coordinates, radio codes, trap symbols. The final line, shaky and ink-smudged, read, "If I do not make it, trust the cat." The last page was half-torn, with a single soft gray hair stuck to its edge. The rumble of snowmobiles surged through the wall like wind. Two figures in camo gear passed the broken window, rifles slung over their shoulders. Ethan held his breath into a single thread. A decision struck. Disable the explosives first or free Maya. The lynx appeared like a wisp of smoke through the shattered glass. Landing between Maya and the explosive kit, it tapped the floor 3 times, then shifted its body, placing itself in front of the green wire, growling low as Ethan reached for the red one. The triple tap, touch, pause, cut, was like a lesson already taught. Ethan obeyed. He released the pressure lock on the green wire, heart sinking with the beats, then moved to the red, cutting at a 45-degree angle to avoid arc flash. The countdown timer showed 0 hours 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Outside, the crunch of boots in snow, the snap of locks, the click of weapons being armed. Ethan turned off his flashlight, pulled Maya back into the sawdust pile. The lynx slipped through the chain rigging, knocking loose a ring of keys. The clatter echoed through the hollow chamber, startling the poachers, forcing them to split apart. A gap opened like a crack in the ice. Ethan charged forward, hit the safety latch, pulled the secondary fuse, and yanked the ignition cable. The red light on the timer blinked off. His shoulders sagged. In that breath, a photo slid from the dusty control panel. A younger Jack, cradling a muddy lynx kitten. He was smiling, his eyes so uncannily like Ethan's, and even more like the gaze of the creature standing there now. The breath of the forest returned. Ethan lifted Maya onto his back, followed the ventilation shaft, slipped past collapsed beams, tracking the lynx through the storm. In the distance, red rescue flares pulsed, signals Ethan had triggered upon discovering the explosives. Behind them, the poachers' curses were torn apart by the wind. They crossed the mill yard. Snow clung gently to their shoulders. The sound of patrol whistles began to scream through the pines. The lynx led the way, its tail slicing through the night like a blade of silence. As the first hint of dawn thinned the horizon, the lynx stood atop a ridge, staring toward the cabin. Ethan set Maya down on the porch steps. They sat in silence, their breath turning to mist. The animal did not snarl, did not growl. It simply stood there, head tilted slightly, ears facing them, solitary and serene like a shadow of the forest. Then it turned away, no rush, no doubt, steady, dignified. Its paw prints stamped the snow in an even trail that faded into the newborn light. On the cabin's doorstep, Ethan saw the wooden whistle neatly placed next to a torn strap bearing the initials JC, two fragments of the same story. He picked them up, his palm warmed, as if the wood had a heartbeat. Maya placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice raspy. Maybe Jag never really left the forest, not entirely. Ethan said nothing. He gazed into the trees, where the pine boughs opened and closed like the eyelids of ancient giants. A blend of gratitude and sorrow swelled in his chest, soft yet heavy. A question flickered through his mind. How did it know the exact cut sequence? Why choose me? Or was it paying a debt to my father? There was no answer. The wind brushed against the whistle in his jacket pocket, creating a faint wooden murmur, like the whisper of sleepless winters. The rescue team had arrived. Voices, radios, the rustle of plastic gear against snow. Maya was bandaged, Ethan wrapped in a thermal blanket, but his eyes remained fixed on the stretch of woods where the gray streak had vanished. There, he felt a fragile thread tying him to something that might never fully be named. Some mysteries are best left in their original form, silence, because sometimes, what saves us is not an answer, but a gaze of acceptance between two beings who share no common language. A lynx had guarded a chest, led a man through a storm, taught him the rhythm to defuse a mountain trap, and then vanished at sunrise. Between them, there was no promise, only a pattern of 3 knocks, brief, clear, resolute, the rhythm of trust. Empathy can cross species, scars, and years. Sometimes, salvation comes from where we least expect it, from a creature we thought was foreign, but who knows us better than anyone else ever could. Protect the forest the way you would protect your own memories, because somewhere beneath the silver pine canopy, a creature still patiently guards the answer we once left behind.